Me versus you and you know they picking. Cheap and expensive, you know the difference. You know that it's hitting, you know what it's giving. Hair, nails, bare. I can survive in the coldest conditions. Hoes very low, they told me they spinning. This is washed, soap in the dishes.
Welcome back to the channel. It is your girl Showtime with Jazz. Today we're going to be talking about the Cult of Natureboy, a Hulu documentary. It is a 4-part series. The episodes are ranging between 40 to 45 minutes. Now, I do want to say this before I start reviewing anything. The Hulu documentary does not follow a consistent timeline. I do want to say that now. So if it seems like I am all over the place, it's literally because of how the Hulu documentary does it episode by episode. But I did try my best to create some type of structure, timeline, so it's easier to follow. Trigger warning, it is a lot of violence, all kinds of violence, from sexual abuse to physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, any type of abuse you could think of. It is subject to be talked about in this documentary, as well as rape, coercion, all of these type of things, sexual assault, literally a lot of things that happens. And I do want to give a trigger warning right now. So if any of that is triggering towards you or you are uncomfortable with, please just click off this video. And if you want to know anything about Natureboy, I really recommend you not do any research on him, because he is a very abusive man and I don't want anything to trigger you. With that being said, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, turn your post notifications on so you get notified when I upload for you guys. Follow me on all of my social medias linked down below. Without further ado, let's get into this review. I got introduced to Natureboy before the documentary even hit the TikTok streets. If you guys see me looking down, I am looking down at my computer because it's a lot of notes that I took. I heard of him a couple of years ago. Me and my friend would randomly talk about cults. At this period of time when we first started talking about cults, we was wondering like what happens in black cults and why we rarely see black cults, and Natureboy ended up popping up. This all happened in 2024. So this is right around the time he was going to jail. When she brought up Natureboy, I did go down a small rabbit hole about him. I didn't go in depth, but from when I seen, he was very unhinged, and I didn't understand how he had a following whatsoever. And then he ended up getting his prison sentence, and then I heard nothing about him up until people started raving about the Hulu documentary and how everybody should watch it. So then I started watching it, and then after I finished watching the Hulu documentary, people was like, hey, Hulu didn't do enough. Y'all should watch the Hood Horrors documentary series. It's 46 parts. It's on YouTube. It has a consistent timeline. It tells you all the ins and outs of the cult, how it got started, all about Natureboy, his upbringing. It tells you about all of the cult members that joined. That documentary goes way into more detail, so I might just do a second video on Natureboy based off of the Hood Horrors series. I am gonna watch all 46 parts, but I'm only gonna be making a video about what Hulu didn't talk about. So I'm not gonna reiterate a lot of the things, just most of the things that they didn't mention in the Hulu documentary. The goal is to not make this video super long, but I want to be able to touch on all of the important facts of the Hulu documentary. Episode 1, Searching for Paradise. The original message Natureboy was telling the folks was he was creating a safe space for black people to get away from city life and get back to nature. The main goal for us, by us I mean black people, was to get closer to the sun. And in order to do that, he wanted you to leave your life behind, get rid of all the toxins in it, and this will give you a way to live a healthy and simple life. That message ended up quickly changing to fit whatever narrative he wanted at that time. So one minute it could be, oh, black people, I want us to have a safe space. And then the next minute, oh, I want this to be a safe space for anybody to come get away from city life. Now I'm gonna talk about the members. The members all come from different eras of the cult. First two were Velvet and Alex. They came when it was called Melanation. Kendra ended up joining a little bit after that, and then Aaron. Most of these people stayed until the very end, while the others got out as soon as they could. Yes, it was way more members of this cult. At one point in time, it was up to like 70 members that had been a part of this cult at once. But these are just the main people who were interviewed. We get introduced to Velvet, aka EJ/Eliana. She was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. She said she was tired of feeling lonely, depressed, and invisible. These were the type of people he was brainwashing and going for. People who really didn't have a sense of self. She had been following Natureboy for a while. She liked what what she was seeing. She felt like the message he was telling the world, she agreed with and she wanted to be a part of it. Her and Ohhh, which is one of the first 3 people to ever join the cult, and Natureboy on this journey, they started talking. They were talking for about 2 weeks before she ended up getting her passport and shipping out to Costa Rica to meet him for the first time. She said from the first time they had laid eyes on each other, it was like love at first sight, and she knew this is who she wanted to be with. That was up until Natureboy came in between them. I will discuss a little bit later on. I'm just giving you guys a backstory on these people so you can get to know them and their mindset or their lifestyle prior to joining melanation/carbonation. Next, we have Alex, aka Golden Boy. He is from Toronto, Canada. His family is from Portugal. He comes from a loving family. As he got older, he got into sports. Eventually, he wanted to become a bodybuilder. 2016, he was really heavily into watching documentaries about factory farming and why it's bad to eat meat. You can see the mindset right there. He ended up finding a video of Natureboy doing a grocery haul in his apartment. This is right before he was set out to leave the country for the first time. The process Natureboy was showing in the video is what he recommended for all of his members to do. They would have to follow this strict regimen. He wanted them to eat straight fruit, water, things that grow directly from nature. Alex and Natureboy ended up directly talking to each other via social media, and in his head, obviously, oh, I'm talking to somebody who is on the same timing as me. We have the same mindset. We are building this connection. That's his way into carbonation. During this time, Natureboy was on live constantly, posting videos constantly, showcasing this newfound lifestyle of him and his family. Next, we have Aaron, aka True. I'm gonna say this now. Aaron is unlikable throughout this documentary. Even though he joined later on, he was one of the main ones in the documentary. He was born and raised in Butler, Georgia, a racist and segregated town. His prom was the first integrated prom. He graduated college in 2009. He joined the military. He was with them for 8 years. After being honorably discharged, he wanted to find structure again because the military gave him that structure and the need to be wanted. He felt like he didn't belong anywhere. So he decided to leave and join melanation. He felt like the message Natureboy was putting out in the world was something he could get behind. He thought Natureboy had Black people's best interests at heart. Mind y'all, this is during the time of the Black Lives Matter movement, a lot of police brutality, so he felt he just needed to escape, and Natureboy was giving him that escape. So we're gonna go back to 2017 is when he saw the first video of Natureboy. The specific video was called Master Teacher Drops Never Heard Before Information. It had 500,000 views, and in Aaron's head, that meant 500,000 people had watched that video and agreed with what Natureboy was saying. Now, I don't know if he's not all the way there in the head or if he was living under a rock, because 500,000 views doesn't equate to 500,000 people. One person could watch a video 50 times and that would contribute to the views. He went from being a viewer to a commenter to eventually talking to one of the members. And after talking to the members and building a connection, he ended up packing a bag up and setting out on this new journey to join melanation and Natureboy. This came from the Hood Horrors documentary because I did watch some of it. I have to go back and rewatch it, y'all. But he is the one who incorporated the military style bearings. So standing at attention and sounding off when Natureboy would say stuff is what Aaron brought into the cult. All of that is Aaron's fault. He literally put in a system that he would never benefit from. Costa Rica wasn't the first country melanation had resided in, but this is where everything started to go downhill in. Well, at least publicly. When Velvet joined the cult, she was young and in college. She met Natureboy when he was 34 years old and she was 19 years old. He was very predatory towards her. His whole goal was to manipulate her into being with him. Mind you, this is a 15-year age gap between them. Her frontal lobe didn't even fully develop at this point. I don't see what a 34-year-old has in common with a 19-year-old. It's just creepy. She said she did find him attractive, but she looked to him as a father figure. She didn't look at him as a, oh, this could be my boyfriend. They had Airbnbs. Do you think they were sleeping inside them houses? No, he had them in the backyard, laying on the ground in tents. He will tell them, go sleep in beds, that's bad. Lay on the ground, go to sleep on the ground so you can be grounded. I don't think that's how you ground yourself. So yeah, a bunch of grown people sleeping in the backyard in tents. They introduced us to Chanel, aka the T. Her name is Chantel, y'all, not Chanel. She saved all of their videos by anybody in Melanation, Natureboy's live. So this documented all of the abuse, all of the crazy unhinged things that was going on within the cult. She had saved and made a whole T channel about it. Him live streaming everything made her job that much easier. Even from the very beginning of the cult, he was unhinged. As time went on, and this is what cult leaders do, when their members let them get away with so much, they start to up the ante. Let me see how far I can go until it's a breaking point. He was never hiding his craziness, so I'm even more confused as to why these people stayed for so long. Mind you, this is not just a cult that would let people come in just because you wanted to join. It was a whole process you had to do. And when you finally did join Melanation, he would immediately change your name. And this is his way of asserting his dominance over the group. So it's like, I have power over you because I named you. Then to assert his dominance even more, they only could eat when he was ready to eat. He told them what to eat. If we compare the members of Melanation to Natureboy, he is lean, he has muscles. You see that he is still in good shape. Then you look at the members, they're nothing but skin and bones. They look malnourished, while he looks like he eats full meals, good every day. In his head, he felt like they should only be eating from the earth. So it was like this sort of diet he had them on, which was fruit and I believe rice and beans. And this was them getting back to nature. Then I got even more confused because how are y'all supposed to be getting back to nature and being one with nature, but y'all are on y'all phones telling us to put down our phones? That don't make no sense. You are buying Wi-Fi to live stream out in the jungle to keep us updated about y'all and how good y'all living. You don't want to be in the United States, but you steady putting us in your business. What he called the United States was Babylon. Babylon was so bad. He was taking Babylon's money from donations. He was taking the women from Babylon to benefit him. So you like Babylon when it's beneficial towards you. Gotcha. His biggest downfall was recording everything. It was used as evidence against him in his trial. Being in Costa Rica, adding certain people, which we're about to talk about in a little bit, to Melanation was the beginning of the end. Let's get back to all of the that was going on. He had them shitting outside in the grass. Now, you're probably wondering, who in their right mind would take a outside? A bunch of funky people who didn't take no showers, who didn't wash their how are they wiping their ass? Oh, I don't know. I don't believe they were. Crusty dookie butts. That's what they were. What could we expect from them? And you know why they were outside? Because he didn't believe in using the toilet. He felt like the government was disconnecting them from nature. So in order to be connected to nature, they had to outside. If that don't sound crazy, I don't know what does. Then he proceeds to make it sound logical, at least to him, by saying them in the toilets was contaminating the water some way, somehow. And when I think about that, I think about how detrimental outside in the backyard where y'all go to sleep at in tents is good for the environment. Then we have Elva say some bullshit saying she grew a tomato from her shit. You know what I did? I did a little research. I went on Google and I typed in, could you grow food from using human poop? Technically, you can grow food, but it is dangerous because of the certain pathogens in our bodies. So no, you shouldn't be growing food from your shit, and you shouldn't be wanting to eat food. With all that being described and said, that is a horrible way to live, especially by choice. You got to add on top of the fact is they're living in these hot places, so you musty on top of everything. Must phone shittiness don't go together. I know them people hated living next to them, hated walking by them, hated looking at them, because looking at them they look dirty. But my girl Velvet said that first night she couldn't get with it, so she went to the bathroom right in that Airbnb. Rightfully so. If I wanted to stay in that cult so bad, I would have been she was taking showers, using the bathroom, getting my hygiene together, because y'all ain't finna say I'm a funky like the rest of you. So she went to the bathroom late at night while everybody was asleep, tiptoe in that Airbnb, used the bathroom, flushed twice. Here comes this nigga the next morning talking about stuff. Who went to the bathroom? Why would I snitch on myself? And right in there, I would have packed my up within a couple of days and got my on a flight back to New Orleans, because I'm not finna live like this. Some shit you gotta just cut it at the core. They didn't specify if he was sleeping in a tent as well. I believe he probably was whenever he felt like it, but for the most part, I don't think he was really following the rules he was giving the members to follow. We're gonna take it back to him first leaving. He was leaving the country, he was promoting it.
Y'all come join me. Meet me at the airport. We're gonna start this journey together.
And when he got to the airport, he expected to see a bunch of waiting on him. It was three niggas who felt so empowered about what he was telling them. They wanted to join him on this journey. He was confused because he said this message was for the not no niggas. So instead of saying, no, y'all can't join me, guess what he does? Start using the niggas as pawns to get women there. Sorry to keep calling them some of them was okay? He wanted the women for himself. It was a scheme set up by Todd. Aaron's crazy because he got them crazy eyes, was talking about some.
Yeah, it was crazy to go from a viewer to being a part of the cult.
At that moment, he could say it was a cult because he had left Carbonation and found a sense of self. Every member that had left Carbonation realized it was a cult, but while they were there, the antics that this man was pulling, the red flags was not red flagging to them. They thought that was a part of greater good. With him wanting a loyal fan base and fame is his reasoning for documenting everything, going live every time something's going on. Y'all remember the original purpose, black people. We pro-black over there. That's what it was given. Up until he realized, I don't need this to be specifically for black people. Let me open the doors up to all people. If you want to get back with nature, if you ain't black, we can work on it. Just tan a little bit. So he opened the doors to non-black people. I'm gonna rewind back again. This is before started to hit the fan. Like I said, Hulu jumps all over the place. Instead of taking this first big moment as a sign to leave this journey where it's at, or try to start a different path, or do things the right way, this nigga didn't take the signs. He actually became worse. The downfall of melanation, at least the beginning, was Kayla. Do you know who Kayla is? Of course not. Kayla Reed is a white Canadian woman. She was the first white person to join melanation. Do you know this woman lied to her family about going to a church conference and disappeared off the face of the earth? Obviously, family is worried. Oh my gosh, where is Kayla? Kayla's missing. That these people put out a missing person alert on her. After the missing person alert went out, why did she pop up in the back of a Natureboy's video looking woe out? So they get the government involved. Oh my gosh, this white girl went missing from Canada, ends up in Costa Rica in the back of a Costa Rican preacher's video. Mind you, this nigga is not Costa Rican. This is an American nigga, a Harlem nigga at that. And he ain't no preacher, he's a cult leader. Did I forget to mention, a lot of these cult members would pull these stunts of they're going one place and end up with Natureboy. They would lie to their families about their whereabouts because that's what he wanted them to do. Oh, don't tell your family you're coming with me because they're gonna stop you. That wasn't a red flag. Oh, maybe I shouldn't go with this nigga because I gotta lie to my family about where I'm going. The whole process was leave your family behind. Yes, that means if you got kids and they were holding you back from getting to your higher self, you gotta leave them behind. They're holding you back. But do you know a lot of these and this is why I'm calling them was leaving their kids behind to be with Natureboy in melanation / carbonation? This was the first time the world was introduced to Natureboy and his cult. At first he wasn't considering it a cult. He was calling it culture. Nigga, it's a cult. Don't be trying to play us. We're not them. You can't tell us something and we gonna believe it. With all of the heat her family had on them, she decided to leave and go back home. In actuality, his ass kicked out. He said, oh no, you bringing too much attention to me. I like the attention, but not this much damn attention. You got to get your back to Canada and don't come back here no more. After Kayla left, Alex ended up coming. He joins them in Costa Rica. They were living in the mountaintops. Probably a beautiful scenery to live in. Not when your ass living in tents and outside, I don't think so, but minus that, I feel like that would be a good place to live in. When he joined, it was 13 members at the time. This is probably least amount of members Natureboy had. Tell me if this makes sense to you. You joined a cult. When you joined the cult and you had got to the Airbnb, it was a whole process you had to go through. You had to give up any money you had, any cars you had to the card holders. So you putting all your money in one pot. Which that makes sense to a certain extent. Yes, y'all putting y'all money in to have a livelihood, that part makes sense. But the that they were buying made no sense. Why do you need a $800 ping pong table and you need to use my damn credit card? How is that getting back with nature? They were buying unnecessary with the money. Putting members in debt because they wanted certain shit. When Velvet came, she had $3,000 in cash she gave to them because she wanted to. One of the first members, which is Key, I believe that was his name, he had an inheritance that they were living off of. A big one too. Do you think they spent that money wisely? No. They blew through it. He also had money from his barbershop he had. Before he went on this spiritual journey, he had a barbershop in Atlanta, Georgia. Somebody donated $300,000. He had somebody giving him a monthly check. They had income coming. I feel like the original movement could have done more good than harm. He chose to do what benefited him and his ego. It wasn't like we are all on the same level. We're here for the same thing. Oh no, sweetheart. When you joined, if you did something he didn't like, or you told him no, it was consequences. Not only would he belittle you and demean you, he would get the other members to do the same thing, to turn their back on you, so you feel isolated. He didn't try to build a community within his cult. It was actually him wanting everybody to only be loyal to him. That's why when he went to jail, nothing stayed afloat because nobody liked each other. One day, they were on their way to Le Mans. They had went through this checkpoint once before. They had drove back through the checkpoint, but this time they ended up getting stopped. Random check. Immediately when they got stopped, this man turns on his live and starts preaching about how they're not getting off this van and it's against their rights and they're not gonna fall victim to the system. This is during the height of Black Lives Matter and police brutality. He's pulling on people's heartstrings. So people in the comments feel like, oh my God, he's a victim. They're being victimized. And you could hear in the video, hey, all you gotta do is get off, get the stamps, and y'all can be on your way. We don't want to use force unless we have to. The police told them that multiple times. Do you think they listened? No. They listened to Natureboy. He said, nobody's getting off this van. And nobody got off the van. The police had to use excessive force. Alex ducked under the seat because he don't want to get hit. All hell breaks loose. And the next time we see them, we see Omeg's face is messed up. His eye is messed up. Blood vessels is popped. Eye is black and blue. Some person got their hair snatched out. Like, people are messed up. And then when you look at Natureboy, Natureboy looks perfectly fine. So, to say you the leader of said cult, and this is your stomping grounds, you don't want to stand in front of your people so you could be the first to get attacked? Oh no. No. He wants them to sacrifice themselves to protect him. They ended up getting deported because y'all not about to come into Costa Rica playing these type of games and think y'all gonna stay after that. Right after this is when he start calling himself God. And we know, cult 101, when get to call themselves God, you was in a cult. We end up meeting Kendra at the end of this episode. She tells us how she packed up her life into one bag, ended up leaving to join Melanation. But before she left, she blocked all her family. Didn't tell them she was going nowhere. Imagine you just talked to your sister 2 hours ago. Days go by. She went missing. I know people's family was going crazy. The whole indoctrination process was crazy to see. At the end of each episode, Hulu tells us that Natureboy is the only one who has been criminally charged with anything. And if you watch the Hood horror series, you will understand why they put that, because a lot of them was complacent in the abuse and all of the things that was going on within this cult. That was episode 1, y'all. Let's get into episode 2. The Cult of Carbonation. So at this point, they're no longer Melanation, they're Carbonation. Not gonna lie, when he first started out, the people loved him because he was showing black people in a positive light. You know, I always look at people in a positive light because at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a very pro-black person. I love to see black people win. I know the world don't see us in a good light all the time, hence to why these 2 cases that recently just happened turned out very differently, and I hate to see it like that. The 2 cases I am talking about, one is the 14-year-old Cyrus Belton, who was shot and killed after this Asian man claimed he stole a bottle of water which cost $1 from his store. He chased him over 100 yards and shot him in the back. He got found not guilty. While in the Carmelo Anthony case, this happened when he was 17 years old. He was at a track meet and an altercation happened between him and 2 or 3 other boys. They became aggressive with him, and in order to protect himself, he used a multi-tool and ended up stabbing one of them. Unfortunately, the boy did die. His trial just happened. He got found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to 35 years. Cause you know, people love black people and love being black until it's time to be black. Y'all know he was hot, red hot, when they got deported back to America. Cause he feels like he better than that. He don't need to be in America. He belongs somewhere in the tropics. And at this point in time, something in his mind has switched. Cause the facade that he had, even though he barely had it, has started to slip. Mind you, like I said, he called himself God, Messiah. Nigga, you was none of them, actually. You're the devil. How about that? Finally, we get to know a little bit about who Natureboy is and where he came from. His name is Ohhh Bishop. He was born during the crack epidemic. Both of his parents died when he was young. His dad died in his sleep. His mom died from an overdose. This led him to being put in foster care. We all know the foster care system isn't the best outcome for a child to be in. He went through a lot of traumatic things, which made him have this type of mindset he has. He ends up telling a story about how his foster family would make him scrub his skin with Ajax and a scrub brush because he was dark skinned and they wanted him to clean the dirt off his skin. And the dirt they're referring to was literally just him being dark skinned. And I feel like that could be true because some dark-skinned people do believe that they're dirty. And I know some people feel like, oh my gosh, you can't be colorist if you're dark-skinned. Like you can't be colorist to other dark-skinned people. And in fact, you can. That is why skin bleaching is a thing. He had claimed he had been sexually abused while in the system, which that is also another thing I believe because a lot of foster kids do get sexually abused, whether that is from the parents or if it's from another kid. We see time and time again how trauma affects the brain, especially at a young age. He wanted to make a living by any means, so he became a male stripper, specifically a gay male stripper, and he was also a gay male escort for years. I think about 10 years or so. He was doing the damn thing for a good minute. Then, after getting out the game, he ended up getting his own barbershop funded by a trick. He has 4 kids. 2 of them were before he created his cult. 1 was during the cult, and then it was Velvet's kid. They do mention his second baby mama, Maisha, who had his second son. He was very abusive towards her to the point where he ended up beating her so bad he got arrested. I think she almost died. That's how bad it was. She ended up making a statement saying, hey, like, he don't need to go to jail. It's fine. It was my fault. We know how abuse victims are. The abuser would put in your head, oh, it's your fault as to why I'm like this and why I do this to you. So in her mind, oh, I don't want my son's father to go to jail. I need to admit that I did something wrong. So he ended up getting arrested, but he didn't go to jail. And right after this is when he went on this spiritual journey. And we know who go to jail for abuse love to turn their life around for fake. That is what we learned about Natureboy in this documentary. We officially get introduced to Kendra, aka Sheba. She is from Seattle, Washington. She comes from a Christian home. From the looks of it, she has a very loving and close-knit family. In her eyes, she felt like the black sheep of the family. And this is why she decided, when she seen Natureboy promoting fighting against the system, she felt like, oh my gosh, that's what I need to do. This is when she met them and talked to them after they got deported from Costa Rica back to the States. They were in Texas at the time until they could find a new country to go to. One of the members of Melanation had reached out to her, called her up, hey girl, you know, we about to get ready to go. Natureboy gets on the phone. Hey, you know, we finna leave Texas in a few days. You need to come out to Texas so you could be with us before we go to our next destination, which was Belize. So she said, you know what? I'm gonna pack up my in a book set, put it on my back, block all of my family, get on that flight to Texas, phew, meet with Melanation at the airport, because they was called Melanation at this point. They didn't change their name yet. Yeah, we're gonna go to Belize. Now, before they left Texas, they did buy tents, solar powered things, so they will be able to live in nature. So I'm thinking, hey, oh, this go around, they really prepared for Belize, so they actually gonna get back to nature. They drove through Mexico to get to Belize. I'm like, okay, this is a foot in the right step. When they got to Belize is when they started to really show the nature aspect of it all. They were going to rivers, they were just being in nature and showing all of the good. So in the public's eye, it's like, this group is really free and they're having a good time. Seems like a family unit. He was promoting family and freedom this way. But also on the other hand, this is where he started to make the group dynamic crystal clear. Women have no say so. This is a man's world. Y'all just live in it. As a woman, you were not allowed to be single. While on the other hand, if a man wanted to be single, he could be single. So that woman would be put with another man. And when you were put with a man, y'all were considered married in the group. It was no such thing as boyfriend, girlfriend. Nature Boy ended up putting Kendra with a man who she didn't even like. They didn't even talk up until they had this fake ceremony of their marriage. In this cult, the women had no say so in anything. They had to be 100% submissive to the men. Kendra came in a virgin. The husband that she was put with, she didn't want to have sex with him. So in order to pleasure himself, he would ejaculate on her and then go to sleep.
Oh, you nasty.
And one night after he did that, ants came and bit her up because it was left on her. Now that's nasty on her part too, because girl, you didn't feel like you should get up and go wipe yourself. Even if he didn't do it, we gotta have some type of morals. This documentary jumps all over the place. So now it takes us back to 2018 when Velvet first joined. Her and Ohhh dated for 9 months before Nature Boy came in between them. He did this because he wanted all of the women to himself, especially Velvet. So the perfect opportunity fell in his hands when Ohhh and Velvet got into a huge argument. Here he comes telling Velvet all type of things about how she was too good for him and he doesn't deserve her. All of this bullshit to get in her head. And then I'm pretty sure he was telling Ohhh the same thing, how she probably really doesn't want him, she just used him to get here. So this was basically the end of Velvet and Ohhh. So in her head she was like, hey, I just want to be single, so let me just tell Chief. Gary Davis calling this nigga Chief. Let me just tell Chief I just want to be single. But as we know, that's a big no-no, because you're a woman, you need to be with somebody. You can't be single out in these carbonation streets. So instead of, you know, telling her no, he just bombed her into the point of her falling in love with him. They ended up being a couple. Immediately after they got together, he wanted to get her pregnant. And then at this point, he made her queen of carbonation. He's the king chief. She's the queen chiefess of carbonation. I don't know exactly when they changed the cult name from melanation to carbonation. That kind of just was random. There is this one specific video that I feel like drew in most of the members of the carbonation cult. You have Velvet standing at like the top of the stairs. Then you have the members lined up on both sides, standing at attention. And Nature Boy is walking. Mind you, this is a whole video shoot. This got a whole director. And he's saying what he's saying and they're sounding off. And then he lets Eliana, I'm gonna probably switch in between their names, the carbonation names and their real names, just depending on how I feel. Eliana is at the top of the stairs, sounding off as Chiefess. She said that they were out there for hours in the hot sun, redoing the video over and over and over until he felt like it was perfect. Do you know that after they filmed, he told her that she didn't sound too sure of herself and she wasn't confident enough? Right after he gave her the queen chiefess role, do you know that he started doing stuff that she wasn't comfortable with and she just had to take it? Not only that, he wanted her to be mean and rude to the women. So he wanted her to belittle them, demean them, make them feel less than her because she was queen and that's what queens do. Then on top of that, he wanted her to be cool with polygamy. Mind you, before they got together, I don't think he ever mentioned anything about polygamy. When he got with Velvet is when he started wanting to be a polygamist. He wanted multiple wives. If every woman comes into this cult gets assigned a man, how are you going to have multiple wives? Oh, we know how. He literally would take the women from their husbands whenever he wanted them, and when he was done with them, he would give them back. That is not polygamy. So one night, this is when Kendra was still with the first man she was with. Him and Velvet, mostly him, invited her back to their tent with the guys of watching a movie. Once again, how the hell is we getting back to nature and we in the tent watching movies, kicking our feet at? But she said she felt a change in the environment threw her off. Do you know that this man used that?
Oh, I want you to come watch a movie with us.
As a guise of getting her in the tent comfortable enough to the point where he felt like, okay, now it's time. He wanted to take her virginity. And not only did he want to take it, he wanted Velvet to hold her hand as he took Kendra's virginity. That's exactly what he did. Velvet didn't want to do that because she was uncomfortable. I don't know how he got her to do this or got them to do this. Obviously, like I said, a lot of this is sexual abuse, sexual assault, because Coercion is rape, in my opinion. So Kendra loses her virginity to Natureboy. A lot of what he was doing was coercion. So he would get them to have sex with him or get them to have sex with each other. Aaron is very arrogant throughout this whole documentary. He comes off as if he wasn't a part of this cult for 5 years. Like 5 years of his life was being a part of this cult. And it's just like now all of a sudden he feels like Natureboy was false advertising what the group was really about. But I feel like if that was the case, why did you stay for so long? One. And then two, why did you introduce this military aspect? You could have left the first chance you got. When you saw like, hey, this is lying about everything he's saying, let me get my and go back home, figure out something. I find my sense of self somewhere else. But no, you stayed. Not only did you stay, you stayed to the very end with him along with everyone else. They didn't want to go back to Babylon because they didn't want to work. They didn't want to have to be adults and get a job, pay bills. They wanted to be a bunch of bums who lived off of other people. So they were willing to put up with any and everything just to have that freedom. Aaron ended up joining the cult as they were leaving Belize. I'm pretty sure they probably got kicked out of Belize too. When Kendra first saw him, she said she knew that was her husband, that was her man. So they ended up getting rid of old dude. Natureboy put her with Aaron because Aaron also felt the same way about her. He was like, that's my wife. Now they're going to Mexico. The mask was barely hanging on. At this point, it was dangling. They had this catchphrase that they would say, peace reflections, throwing up gang signs. I ain't gonna do it. They would say myself, but they would spell it as MYCELLL to acknowledge and appreciate the cells in your body. Every Airbnb that they had was nice as but it's not like they were sleeping in there. All they did was cook in the Airbnb. All of the other activities were outside. Do y'all know they had to sweep outside while they had a whole room dedicated to a studio? These was making music. How are we getting back to nature and y'all doing quite the opposite of that? He would make them go live from their pages. At this point, carbonation pages. It's no more old them. This is all the new them. He would make them go live and spread his word verbatim. Whatever he said that day, they had to go on their live, say it bar for bar, word for word. And he would do this when they wasn't background characters of his live. He would have them in the back of his live standing at attention like a bunch of goofballs. We know how the internet is. The more drama, the more unhinged and craziness that you do, the more following you get. So his followers are going up, his fan base is growing. Now he's telling everybody to quit their jobs. People back in Babylon, don't be trying to come in Babylon's business and tell us what to do. This gives people the opportunity to actually state facts and make the world realize, hoping that the members realize everything he says is a lie. And so what they would do is get on live, tell the truth, give the facts, and contradict everything he was telling the world. You can't tell nobody to put their phone down and you still on your phone. Mind you, you're supposed to be one with nature. Why are you worried about me on my phone when you're not even supposed to have a phone? This was calling threesome polygamy in order to get Velvet to do them with him. So he would be like, hey, you could pick the girl for us to have a threesome with. He has the girl already picked out. He didn't care about nobody likes or what they wanted to do or what they was comfortable with doing. He only cared about his pleasure and him finishing. Velvet said he would make her give him head while the other women did stuff to his nipples. They couldn't tell him no without having consequences behind it. He would be on live demanding for the women to kiss each other for the world to see. It was all a show for him. When he was putting these women into these marriages, it was mostly so they could reproduce with the men. The more he talked, the more I wanted to punch him in the throat. He's going to tell us, the world, Babylon, that women wanted to give. And he would go on to further show us that he and the men in this cult did not see these women as people. They saw them as objects. If you look at the type of they were, the vibes give off. When they were back in Babylon, they couldn't get no so they wanted to go somewhere where they didn't even have to work hard to get a because a girl was assigned to them. I'm sorry to keep calling them but some of these girls are like I said, when they were leaving their kids to come to this man in his cult, oh yeah, you're for sure. Nature Boy is just a loony case. He would randomly call meetings and be telling the members,
oh my God, y'all, I got a prophecy. The universe just told me all these women belong to me and I should sleep with them.
and then the men would go for that. And then to further prove his craziness, this would just randomly change his name. He went from Nature Boy to Master Teacher to God, Messiah, Free God. This changed his mind and his name up so many times it's hard to keep track. I feel like he played onto people's religious background, whether that is trauma or if this is just those religious psychosis people be going through. I feel like that's what he played onto, because he tried to make it seem like he was God and he was leading them down this righteous path. Childhood plays a part into who you become, but it is your job to seek therapy for any childhood trauma you've been through or anything that has mentally affected you. I think that just had undiagnosed mental issues. I think this was bipolar, schizophrenic. Something was wrong. He wasn't all the way right up here. The way Aaron talks me off. He really has the same mindset as Nature Boy, just not to that extreme. It wasn't no secret that he was abusive towards Velvet. Everybody heard her screams. Nobody did anything. No real man is going to sit around and watch a man abuse a woman. Your excuse was, oh, that wasn't your business. If this is supposed to be God and he's supposed to be this higher power, why is he stooping to abusing this woman while she's pregnant, carrying his child? This nigga's other excuse as to why Nature Boy was doing what he was doing, which a lot of these men also felt this way. A lot of these people in this cult felt this way. Oh my gosh, she must have did something to disrespect him, and this is this masculinity that she learned back in Babylon that he was trying to get out of her, like he was casting a demon away. Not only did he isolate Velvet from her family, he started to isolate her from the members of the cult. When they would want to talk to their families and he allowed it, do you know this was sitting next to them trying to guide the conversation and make sure they're not saying something they're not supposed to say? Shout out to Velvet's dad. Unfortunately, he has passed away, but he really was trying to do everything in his power to get her to come back home and leave Nature Boy and Carbonation behind for good. She eventually did it, but it was after he had passed away. Mind you, she did leave a couple of times and came back, or she would want to leave, and then when they were trying to let her leave, she wouldn't want to go. It was a lot of leaving and coming back when it came to Velvet. The times that she wanted to leave is because he didn't want to be monogamous. So every time she would say, this is not what I'm comfortable with, this is not what I want to do, he would get rid of all of the wives, give them back to their rightful men. A couple days go by, probably a week, he'll get them back, and then Velvet would get mad again, want to leave, and it's like a repeated cycle of him playing with her. In 2019, this is the end of her pregnancy, or nearing the end of her pregnancy. He started to distance himself from her. I know y'all like, this is probably the best thing that could happen to her. Maybe he'll want another wife. She ends up going into labor. Oh my gosh, a beautiful moment. What's the worst that could happen? Do you know this man whipped out the camera, went live on Instagram, showed the world her giving birth, whole coochie out on Instagram Live as she's pushing her baby out? I would have went upside of head. It's one thing to record it as a home video and have memories, because I understand that's something I would do. I would want to do when I have a child. Not only did she give birth on live, but every woman who had got pregnant in the cult and stayed throughout the whole time had gave birth on live. I think the rest of the women's birth were natural birth, but Velvet had to have her baby in the hospital because she had complications going on after giving birth. Do y'all think this man gave her any type of grace when it came to letting her body fully heal? Y'all know it takes at least 6 weeks for a woman's body to fully heal. Actually started to be even more meaner towards her after giving birth. That is because she couldn't have sex with him. He wanted her to be okay with him having sex with the other women in the cult. So instead of spending the first 6 weeks bonding with your baby, trying to other wives, since she couldn't give him any, do you know this man would make her participate in these sexual encounters with the baby present and all?
You little nasty.
After the baby, she was over it, but something in her, she just couldn't leave the alone. We could see her physically changing. She started to speak up more. Obviously, her speaking up more meant her getting abused more. He would put this phone in her face while it's on live and make it seem like she just crazy. She is going against everything that she agreed to, when it's like, no, she told you from the beginning she didn't want to be in a poly relationship. She wanted to be monogamous. Here you go.
She's doing it again, y'all. She's doing it again. Y'all don't know what goes on off the camera.
Y'all, the abuse only got worse after she had her baby. So in order to protect herself and limit the abuse, she would always have her baby in her arms. That was the only way he would not abuse her. The fact that they believed this man was really God is crazy. All right, so in the cult, they had a hierarchy. It was Natureboy. Next will be Velvet, because she was the queen. Then under that, they had Team A, and then they had Team B. Team A got more perks, and they were over like finances, transportation. So they had more responsibility, and they could talk directly to Natureboy. Team B, they couldn't talk directly to Natureboy, so they would have to go through somebody on Team A in order to talk to Natureboy. So their wives would be on the same level they are. And then obviously the women, if you were married to Natureboy, you get all the perks he got. When he walked in the room, they had to stand at attention. If they didn't do it, they would have to do some type of physical punishment, as if this is the army. Also, a bunch of grown people letting a tell them what they can and can't do. Tell them to go stand in a corner for 3 hours at a time because they didn't listen to something he said. I realized I couldn't be in no cult because I asked too many questions. Back to this control power dynamic of the group. He had to eat first, so they couldn't take a bite until he took his first bite. This man went on live and lied to the folks and said that he was eating the same thing everybody else was eating, but he's just still so lean. The members came out and said, hey, that nigga was not eating what we was eating. He was eating all types of fish and protein. He would even leave the property to go and sit down at a restaurant to eat. Do you think them folks could leave the property to go out to eat? Since he was getting away with abusing the women so much, he started abusing the men. I don't know why they thought they were safe from abuse. He had niggas smacking each other for him. He had women smacking each other for him. So now we're gonna get into episode 3, Paradise Lost. So this episode, we get introduced to 2 other cult members. One is Courtney, aka Solar. He was born and raised in San Diego, California. He felt like he was living in a war zone because at any minute or any second, he felt like it would be his last moments on earth. A lot of members who joined this cult were young, so it makes sense as to why they were so impressionable by what he was saying. Then to add into where they came from, a lot of them were lonely. They felt like outcasts. So Natureboy promoting this positive space and this family front drew them in because that's what they wanted. He was 23 years old when he saw the first video. It was called Carbonation Angels of Light. That's the video of them standing in formation, and Natureboy and Velvet are at the front and they're sounding off like puppets. Yeah, that's the video that he saw, and he said it was just so inspirational and it was so crazy to see, and it was powerful, especially with the members standing on the sidelines. When he was watching that video over in the Hulu documentary, he was literally smiling as if this was his first time seeing it. In their world, Carbonation was the army of God. Next, we get introduced to Janae, aka, I think her name is Nefertiri. She was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. She was already on a spiritual journey before joining them. She was living her life, exploring the world. She should have kept doing that. She really should have kept doing that instead of joining them. Getting kicked out of a country, I think she said Costa Rica, and instead of seeing this and staying far away from this group, she decided, oh my God, they're the victims. When she met them in person, she was working as a cashier at this vegan place. When they came in, she was starstruck. Oh my gosh, that's really them. But the thing was, she had already had plans to leave the country. She was going to Bali to become a yoga instructor. Instead of going to Bali, she decided to go and join Carbonation instead. When she joined at the time, it had 25 members. Mind you, the members of the cult, it always fluctuates. But I want to say he had a good 15 at least loyal cult members. She realized everything was a lie. Now, I have to give her props because she is the biggest reason as to why Natureboy got locked up. They are in Mexico at this point. Solar really joined thinking it was going to be peaches and cream, and by that point he was being called chief commander. Natureboy is not good at hiding his true self. His true colors came out very quickly. Velvet did claim to not like being queen slash chiefess because nothing she did was ever good enough for him. He felt like she wasn't treating the position how she needed to treat it. None of these people had real friendships throughout the cult. They were only loyal to themselves and Natureboy. So they were willing to throw anybody under the bus to stay on Natureboy's good side. It got to a point where Velvet got so fed up that she was willing to give the title of queen chiefess to some other wife that was in the cult because she didn't want it anymore. He didn't like that. He felt like she was disrespecting him. We know what he does when he feels disrespected. He lays hands on you or he gets somebody else to lay hands on you. The abuse was just getting worse and worse. And he would do this sometimes with the baby in her hands. Or he would get the wives to try to grab the baby from Velvet so he is able to go to the furthest extent. At this point, he was no longer hiding the abuse off of camera. So people start calling them Mexican authorities. Hello, such and such is going on. Y'all need to go investigate. Get that man up out of there. He's doing this, that, and the third. They investigated. They ended up getting kicked out of the Airbnb and deported. They ended up back in Atlanta. Going back to Atlanta, he was making the wives wash him every day, do everything for him, getting him ready for the date. On top of that, he made them get his name tatted with a fruit next to it. I think it was cherries, probably all type of different fruits. At this point, he was calling the women demons, but the demons belonged to him. Atlanta was where he really started to lose every piece of the little mind he had. At this point, he had took all of the wives from their husbands, and now they're all married to him. He told the men that they would have to get transgender wives because anyone who could reproduce should be with him to reproduce his kids. They tried to make it seem like he was sneaking behind the men's back to sleep with their wives when in fact he was just doing it in their face. They showed Solar kissing him on the cheek, and it's like he started to break the men down to the point where they were doing anything to get his affection. And what Solar says next makes a lot of sense. So it was this hypothetical situations that they had put out in the world that some of them were willing to castrate themselves for Natureboy. That's weird, but I guess a question was asked if they had a chance to swallow Natureboy's ejaculation, would they? Solar said most of the men said yes. He tried to put it off as if he wasn't one of those men, but I feel like at that point in time, since he had them so brainwashed, they all would have done it with a smile on their face. To get the women to want to be with him, he would lie to them and say, oh, in order to connect to your higher self, you have to be with me. And they fell for it. 2020 is when COVID struck. They decide, let's go to Hawaii. Very beautiful place. Probably the ideal place for them to get back to nature without having to leave the States technically, but they do not know peace. Do you know they was up there breaking all types of quarantine rules and laws? You had to quarantine for 14 days before you could go out into the world with other folks. These folks touched down to Hawaii and just went out on the island. Up here touching sea turtles, which I think that is illegal to do. So the Hawaiians were like, hey, we got people breaking quarantine rules and laws. Y'all need to get that up out of here. They end up arresting all of them. We took a plea deal. We'll just go back to the States if you just let us go free. And that's what they did. They let them go free and they went back to the States. July 4th, 2020. This is the night where Velvet finally had enough. He ended up telling one of the wives to take baby Eliana from Velvet. They take baby Eliana from her. They surround her. So they completely circled her. He starts to beat her. So he's kicking her, stomping her, punching her, doing everything as they stood around and watched this happen. Because in their minds, once again, oh my God, she deserved this. Solar was like, oh my God, she's still a good guy because he could have killed her. She didn't fight back because it was everybody against her. If she would have fought back, they probably would have jumped her. So after he was done, he told the wives, go run her a bath so she can heal and recover. Everybody felt like, oh, Velvet is just being so disobedient. Since we're obedient, he would never do this to us. And then he would encourage the men to abuse the women. Everybody who ended up leaving would have still been in the cult if he never went to jail. Besides Velvet and Janae, I believe. I feel like those two were just really done. He got the bright idea to go to Las Vegas and make all of the couples get legally married. He didn't do this because he wanted them to actually be married. It was more so of when hits the fan, Velvet, you're legally married to me, so you can't testify against me. They end up going back to Mexico once again. Y'all know they love them some Mexico. By this time, he had hundreds of thousands of followers. He was trying to make it seem like they had all of this money when in actuality they didn't. But obviously his supporters didn't care because they were encouraging all of the he was doing. So he switched from Instagram Live to Bigo Live, and Bigo is way more lenient when it comes to guidelines. He went over to Bigo and started to cause hell, and this was his way of getting money. So he created this segment called Real Moments. It was really to humiliate and embarrass the cult members. Now they're in too deep to the point where they feel like they can't go back to their families. One day, Velvet and Malia gets into it. Malia is one of the women of Carbonation. She got treated really, really badly. They wanted to fight at one point. Then they was like, you know what? I'm over it. We ain't gotta fight. Nah, Natureboy said, oh, that's not happening. Real moment. Took them to the beach and made them fight in sand. Velvet finally leaves for the last time. She got them high and drunk, let them pass out, and when they were good in sleep, she took her and baby Eliana and ran for her life and never looked back. And obviously this caused him to lose the last bit of self-control he had, because the one person he thought he would have power and control over for the rest of his life had finally left him. Episode 4, Fall of a God. When Velvet left, all hell broke loose. Nobody was safe from this man. I'm so glad she did leave. When she left, she got a protective order against him. He was on live for 40 days and 40 nights ranting and raving about how much he missed his daughter. Mind you, this nigga got 3 other kids. Y'all remember? And you're ranting and raving about missing baby Eliana when you haven't ranted and raved about missing your other 3 kids. They went back to Atlanta. Every country they went to, they was getting deported. Now they living in a neighborhood. So even when the cameras are off, they have more eyes and ears on them. Kendra didn't want to leave because she wanted to keep her family together. And I want mothers specifically, because mothers do this a lot. It is okay to break your family up if it has the best interest of your kids. So we get introduced to another internet investigator. I think her name is Janaya. She had a whole page dedicated to Carbonation, telling the world what the group really was, which was a sex cult. She was boots on the ground with the journalism. She was putting flyers on people's mailboxes to warn them in the Atlanta area, hey, this sex cult is here. Y'all need to be careful. He smacked the nigga for feeding him a strawberry because he didn't want that strawberry at that time. Janae, ring, 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 call the police because this is getting out of control at this point. Every day, welfare checks would be made on that house. Obviously, they couldn't do anything because they all claimed that they wanted to be there and nothing was going on and it was a skid. The police coming and going every day and he's not getting arrested and nothing's happening to him. He felt like he was untouchable. One time the police came, this gonna say, you work for me, I pay taxes. Now, we know that ain't got no job to pay no taxes, because how you gonna say you're against the system and everything the system is this, but gonna lie to the police and say you pay taxes. Janae finally decides to leave. She decided to leave because Natureboy instructed one of the women to smack Janae. They smacked her pretty hard. They banged her up. They beat her up. She was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I can't deal with this. So she was waiting for her Uber. Here comes one of the wives. Oh, Natureboy wants to talk to you. So she goes upstairs. He's telling her, let me just ejaculate in you one more time. She kept saying no. Eventually, she says yes after telling him no so many times. In her police interview, she did claim they had made love. In fact, it wasn't love, it was coercion. She ended up sneaking out the house and leaving for good. Next day, he gets on Instagram Live, says, oh, Janae left. The women beat her up pretty bad. I don't know what that was about. Janaya ends up reaching out to Janae and was trying to get in contact with her, make sure she was okay after seeing that live video. She was like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but Natureboy posted a video of you and him having sex on Twitter. She ended up telling her, hey, you can press charges because that is revenge porn. So Janae ends up going down to the precinct, pressing charges. That's when the investigation hit an all-time high. So they were already investigating Natureboy from all of the welfare checks. Everybody in the police station knew who this was. So with Janae coming forward and telling her story, the police realized, wait a minute, this nigga has broken a couple of laws. Now they had to take precautions. They did their research on everybody and found out everybody's real name. They went and got T and went through all of the video documentation that she had. Now, it was a little bit hard to get more charges on him because a lot of this stuff happened outside of the United States. Hence as to why he wanted to stay out of the United States, because it was easier for him to get away with a lot of in these foreign countries. When you're on U.S. soil, you can't get away with certain They end up mailing a warrant to the house. So Laura said, hey, this is a warrant. What do you want me to do with it? This said, throw it away. That ain't real. After they threw it away, bang, 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 knock, knock, knock. With the house around it, it's the police. They end up breaking down the door. Everybody got arrested, but it really was just to arrest him. Everybody ended up getting released but him. Velvet found out through social media because obviously it went viral. It's the sex cult. The leader is finally arrested for his crimes against these people. 2024, he was arrested for rape, revenge porn, and I think it was also false imprisonment. Don't quote me on that. After he got arrested, that his followers started harassing Janae and calling her a liar because in the interrogation room, when she was giving her police statement, she said made love instead of so they justified that as this a liar. This documentary was filmed as the trial was happening. Janae testified against him. I'm very happy because she had enough courage to do it. We know a lot of victims do not have the courage to get on stand and to look at their perpetrator or their abuser and say what happened to them. This nigga was doing all these stupid stupid ass, dumb ass, confused faces, as if he wasn't doing what they said he was doing, as if this was the first time he had ever heard of some like that. When she said he had called her a and say she was his property, he acted like he ain't never said that. They pull up video proof of him literally calling the wives, well, not just the wives, he was calling everybody bitch. And he was telling the wives that they were his property. Now, I am going to give his attorney this. His attorney did a very good job at creating some type of doubt when it came to Janae testifying. He did so good that Natureboy followers thought they had this thing signed, sealed, and delivered. The nigga was not going to go to jail. He was going to get off because the lying. They was outside the courthouse dancing, skipping, just happy-go-lucky. Aaron gets on the stand and testify. And when I seen he was testifying, it did surprise me. I don't know what happened that made him turn against that man. Aaron testified to the different punishments Natureboy would do. This was putting them in closets if they disobeyed him or disrespected him. Kendra also testified, and she had revealed a sad truth. He was okay doing whatever he was doing because he knew that this was happening to black women. And unfortunately, when it comes to black people, people don't really care about what happens to us. That's the sad truth of it all. Velvet also ended up testifying. I knew she would because, baby, at that point, she had been washed her hands with Carbonation and Natureboy. She had also been in the cult the longest, so she knew more about him than the rest of them knew. Mid-trial, because the lawyer wasn't doing what he wanted and bringing people on the stand to testify in his defense. They said, no, if you fire your lawyer, you have to represent yourself. You ain't about to stop the trial to get a new lawyer. We're not doing that. They didn't bring enough of his followers to testify for him. Do you know the ones that did testify for him, when it was time for a cross-examination, that actually did more harm than good? Was caught lying on the stand under oath. Asked him, so you said it was never no abuse. The boy gonna say, I never seen that. Shows video proof of Natureboy smacking the out of him. They let him give his last words and like any final thoughts. This gonna say he forgive all of them and he loves them. That's typical abuser because what are you talking about? You forgive me. Even while the women were testifying, this laughing at them. He never showed any remorse for what he did. Honestly, if he would have got off on these charges, he would have just continued wreaking havoc in these Atlanta streets. That's it. That's all. He was found guilty of false imprisonment, revenge porn, and then it's 2 other counts I don't know. But I know he was found guilty on all 5 counts. He was sentenced to 25 years to life without the possibility of parole, plus 10 years for false imprisonment. I'm gonna say this, all cult leaders are the same. They love to pretend to be some sort of god, spreading a valuable message, and when they get people to join, their true colors start to show. Abuse is never okay, and what he did was wrong. He deserves to be in prison. I know a lot of people feel as though a lot of the cult members should be in jail right along with him. I agree to a certain extent because they were complicit in a lot of the abuse and craziness that he had going on. But obviously, in order to get him behind prison walls, they had to let them be free in order for them to testify. Without their testimony, he would walk free. Sometimes you have to bite the bullet and sacrifice to cut the head off the snake. I hope they all heal, move on, learn to love themselves. This was a lot. I know this video is going to probably be hella long. I am so sorry if it is. I try to cut it as short as possible, but it was a lot of stuff to touch on. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click that bell so you're notified when I upload for you guys. Follow me on all of my social medias. They are linked down below. And I'll see you guys in my next video.
Surviving the coldest conditions. Hoes very low, they told me they spin. This is wash, soap in the dishes. I apply pressure like boa constrictors. One bitch, 2 bitch, old bitch, new bitch. None of y'all bitches not gon' do shit.